Then you're gonna have to move closer to get better video quality.
Hi, may I help you?
Yes, I hear Progressive has lots of discounts on
Are you
car
ready?
insurance.
Go ahead.
Can I get in on that?
Are you a
The
safety
definition
expert?
of holding someone as a hostage
Do
is
you
the
own a
seizing
home?
or detaining and threatening to kill,
Are you gonna buy
injure,
online?
or continue to
Yes.
detain the person
Is
in
it
order
just
to
a
compel a
cancellation?
third party to abstain from what they are doing in any act
Is
as
it
an
the stuff
explicit
constantly
or
on hold?
implicit
Yeah, I got it.
condition for the release of the
Oh,
seized
do it all
person.
the time.
Whether
That's
traveling
insane.
abroad,
That's
traveling
progressive.
locally, or
Oh, it's
staying
good
at
to know.
home, you are at risk for being held hostage. In the United States, more often than not, you are likely going to be released safely, yet abroad, that is a different story. Oftentimes we think of people being held captives as prisoners of war, yet more and more often we are seeing private citizens being held as hostages. In the multiple years of collecting first and second hand recounts of hostage situations, I have been giving an inside view on how the United States government deals with hostage situations. The United States, as of late, has taken a very relaxed attitude when dealing with hostage situations overseas. To become effective in keeping our private citizens safe, the United States needs to become more strict with their policy when dealing with these situations. According to the State Department's official fact sheet on dealing with hostage situations, their stance is that, based upon past experience, the U.S. government concludes that paying ransom or making other demands or concessions to terrorists in exchange for the release of the captives increases the dangers that others will be taken hostage. They also follow up with the U.S. government will make every effort, including contacting any representation of the hostages or captors, sorry, in order to exchange a release. Yet, as we look at past situations, this is not true. In June of 2006, an English computer programmer and 4 bodyguards were taken captive and hostage by a suspected terrorist group called Asib el-Haq. 2.5 years later, the Englishman was released to his country. Coincidentally, the United States military released Qais el-Khazali, who was accused by the United States military of masterminding the 2007 slayings of 8 Americans in central Iraq. This recent example goes against everything that the State Department believes when dealing with hostage situations. Yet it occurs and is happening was only showing the terrorist groups that taking hostage is an effective way of getting what they want. When we deal with our homegrown or domestic terrorists, we seem to have a firmer grasp on this policy. In the past 10 years, any individual who has taken a United States citizen as hostage within the U.S. borders has either wound up in prison or dead. There have been no exchange of goods, services to free the hostage. The negotiations are simply present. The negotiators are simply present to calm down the aggressor and try to negotiate the release. When that fails, police enforcement takes the matters into their own hands. Because of how the United States handles those who take hostages within our borders, we only see a handful of these situations each year. If we were to take the stance with foreign terrorists, imagine the change it could bring. Some may say, such as seasoned negotiator Roger Fisher, that we should negotiate with terrorists. The reasoning behind this idea is that if you keep a line of communication open, it will be easier for us to create an influence over the person or persons. When you look at hostage situations created by Al Qaeda, Hezbollah, the IRA, and other militant foreign groups, we see a common trend. United States lives that are being held matter little or next to nothing. If our lives mean so little, then why should we even entertain the thoughts that our words mean anything? Mr. Fisher, along with another colleague, Mr. Brown, wrote in their book, Getting Together, that we should remember that us and terrorists are equally human, equally caught up in the situation, equally entitled to have rights, and equally entitled to have any interest and views taken into account. In a perfect world, this would be great, if both sides could have a give and take communication, yet when negotiating with human lives. But unfortunately, this isn't the case. After taking a number of missionaries captive in order to deter the Filipino army to cease fighting with his terrorist group, Abu Saif, leader of the Abu Sayyaf, told Radio Mendino network that if we see the fight is getting one-sided, maybe we'll just say goodbye to these two, where he next decapitated 2 Americans. In the example alone, it shows the total disregard for life, and this is just one of many. Terrorist organizations and their leaders use our love of human life as leverage against us. They see our weaknesses and they exploit it. In turn, we are setting ourselves up for greater danger. As a country, the United States takes no-nonsense attitude when it adapts the State Department's hostage crisis to its locals. Yet when we are dealing with foreign bodies, we are recommended to tippy-toe around them. To make exceptions, to be kind and soft, as we have shown in our actions, and to sometimes give in to their demands. Doing this has begun a slippery slope towards our own destruction. We've revealed one of our weaknesses, our greatest perhaps, and it will be exploited. Those who choose to take human life hostage have no scruples, and this is why they are most dangerous. To them, human life is not precious, but it is a commodity to be traded and used as they see fit. If we continue to make exceptions, we will leave ourselves vulnerable to even greater and more horrific crimes against humanity. In order to curb this dilemma, we must make a firm stance and stand behind our policy 100%.
Yeah, white power!